Skald Against the Black Priory is an RPG that didn't just grab my attention, it dragged me down into its murky depths and didn't let go. If you're looking for a game that absolutely drips with atmosphere and tells what is, in my opinion, one of the most accurate Lovecraftian-inspired stories out there, you'll want to stick around. Right away, Skald hits you with its look. It's rocking this intense pixel art style that feels straight out of the Commodore 64 era. You even have different CRT filters you can use for added nostalgia. But the visuals are not just retro for retro's sake. This visual style is essential to the game's feeling. It creates this immediate sense of unease, almost claustrophobia, what with the limited window you have of the game space. The world feels old, unwell, and the graphics sell that perfectly. Combined with the moody, often unsettling sound design, man, the atmosphere is just thick with dread from the moment you start. You start the game off customizing your main playable character. In terms of appearance, there are not a lot of options, but that's not really that much of an issue. You then choose a class and a few attributes, and a background for another boost in some attributes. The classes are quite varied and usually have some smaller subclasses you can build into depending on where you invest your skill points. I went with a ranger that specializes in ranged combat, though it took a while until I had a good stockpile of arrows I can actually use. Personally, I would suggest going with a more magic-focused character, otherwise it'll take a while until you can use spells. You can have up to 6 members in the party at all times, and the story provides them, albeit slowly, and the magic wielder is quite late in the game. You can also find mercenaries which you can hire and you can customize them to fill any role you're missing. Speaking of the party members, they are more than just pre-made characters. They are part of the story, and will regularly chime in during conversations. They provide varied archetypes to form a complete party, and you get a damage-dealing warrior, a thief, and a frontline healer relatively quickly in the story. Besides the obvious uses they provide in combat, they also provide their stats for the different dice roll checks you'll come across during the game. You can swap between characters at any time while exploring and during some events, so you can use the character that has a higher chance of succeeding. Found a locked chest? Maybe Kat can unlock it using her thief tools, or maybe Roland has a better chance of smashing it open. By the end of the game you can just spam Roland to smash the chest open just about any time, as he only takes 1 damage for every attempt. The gameplay loop is pretty classic. Explore the map, talk to weird and wonderful, mostly weird and kinda doomed characters, uncover secrets, and get into fights. Exploring provides a good opportunity to find loot and interesting events, like cosmic entities staring back at you while stargazing, or eldritch creatures in wells, or a very happy village where everyone is preparing for a feast and absolutely nothing goes wrong. The world is split into many areas that are connected via an overworld, filled with random events. Initially there are a lot of secondary areas to explore and side quests to do, but as the game's story progresses and you unlock more of the world, there are less and less secondary things to do. I would consider this a bad thing, but it makes sense, story-wise, for you to not want to get sidetracked by other things when heading for the final fight. Speaking of fights, the combat in Skald is turn-based and takes place on a tactical grid. If you've played games like the old Gold Box D&D titles or the original XCOM, you'll recognize the core idea immediately. When a fight kicks off, the action pauses, a grid overlays the environment, and everyone involved, your party members and the enemies, gets placed on it. You are free to place your party wherever you wish. Turn order matters, usually determined by stats like initiative, so you'll see who's acting when. Now, the most crucial element you need to grasp right away is positioning. This isn't a game where you can just run everyone forward and whack away. There's a clear distinction between the front row and the back row. Your tough, melee-focused characters, they generally need to be up front to engage enemies directly and protect the squishier members of your party. Your archers, mages, and support characters, you absolutely want them in the back row, ideally behind your frontline fighters, so they can do their thing without getting immediately swarmed and taken down. Enemies understand this too, so managing who engages who, creating choke points, and protecting your vulnerable characters is paramount. It's surprisingly deep just based on placement alone. For example, thieves can backstab an enemy that is flanked. Paladin-type characters can create shield walls when next to friendlies. Mages have different attack patterns based on what spells they use. You can charge enemies that are at a distance. The list goes on. Speaking of abilities, party composition and character builds are key. Skald is a proper RPG. Building a balanced party with characters that complement each other is essential. You'll likely want a dedicated frontliner or two to absorb damage, some characters focused on dealing damage, whether melee, ranged, or magic, and potentially someone focused on support, healing, or applying buffs and debuffs. Synergy is everything. This brings us to status effects. You'll be dealing with everything from poisons that take away health each turn, bleeding effects, characters getting stunned or dazed and losing actions, accuracy penalties, defense buffs, the list goes on. Inflicting nasty debuffs on enemies while buffing your own party can often be just as important, if not more so, than raw damage output. You need to pay attention to these effects. Curing debilitating ones on your team and exploiting weaknesses on the enemy side is critical for surviving tougher encounters. And there are plenty of tough encounters, especially early in the game when you still don't have your full party. Thankfully, the fights are fast-paced, so as long as you remember to save as often as you can, you won't lose too much time retrying fights. So why are we even fighting? For that, we need to talk story. You start the game on a ship, on your way to the Outer Isles. You are sent there to look for an old childhood friend that has gone missing. Your ship sinks, as it is custom in a Lovecraftian story, and set free to explore for any leads that can point you in the right direction. The story unfolds gradually. You start with what seem like personal stakes, but you quickly get entangled in these much larger, darker conspiracies and the grim realities of the islands you're exploring. It's less about being a chosen hero destined to save the world, and more about being a survivor navigating a world that feels actively hostile and cursed. The game is split into multiple arcs, with some being much longer and open-ended than others. You have some decisions you can make during your journey, but they are mostly related to how you can accomplish your mission. To my knowledge, there is only one ending. You cannot change the inevitable. Where Skald really shines for me is how it weaves its narrative into the world. The writing is fantastic. The dialogue captures the bleakness and the desperation of the inhabitants. You piece together the lore and the unfolding horror through conversations, environmental details, and discovering unsettling texts. It's a world that feels lived in, scarred, and haunted. It respects your intelligence, letting you connect the dots and feel that growing sense of unease as you uncover more forbidden secrets. That slow burn of cosmic horror, the sense that you're meddling with powers far beyond your comprehension. It's executed brilliantly. Every element really works together here. The oppressive visuals, the crawling soundscape, the challenging gameplay, and the grim, well-written narrative, they all combine to create this incredibly cohesive and immersive experience. It's a game that wants you to feel the weight of its world, the chill of its secrets. Did I mention this game was made mostly by just one Norwegian developer? If there's one person you can trust in creating a dark, depressing atmosphere, then he's probably Scandinavian. The game does the slow descent into insanity masterfully. From the environments and the enemies you fight, to the text box that appears at every level up that goes from being hopeful and inspirational to depressed and exhausted. The ending might also be divisive or disappointing for some people, but for me it is the epitome of a cosmic horror story ending. I won't spoil it, but if you've read any Lovecraft, you know what to expect. Now, is it for everyone? Probably not. That distinct visual style, as much as I'd love it for its atmospheric contribution, might be a barrier for some. And the game can be quite challenging. It expects you to engage with its systems and doesn't offer many shortcuts, which fits the theme but requires patience. So who is this game for? Honestly, if you have any nostalgia for those old gold box D&D games, or the early Ultima games, or if you just love deep atmospheric RPGs with tactical combat, you should absolutely check out Skald. Especially if you are looking for that dark fantasy, cosmic horror blend. It's a game made with a very clear vision, and it absolutely nails that vision. Overall, I had an absolute blast with it. It's challenging, it's incredibly atmospheric, and it just oozes style. It felt like uncovering a lost classic from decades ago, but with some smart modern design sensibilities under the hood. I highly recommend it, and if you want to check it out, the GOG link will be in the description. Or if you are watching this while the Lovecraftian Games event is on Steam, check it out there as well. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video, maybe consider subscribing. Bye bye!